Hi there, it's Mary Schiller, author and coach of MarySchiller.com, where I help coaches kickstart their businesses by showing them how to generate cash anytime they need it. I am so happy to be talking with you today. This talk is really meaningful to me personally, this topic, because I have experienced it myself. And what is that? It's the income roller coaster. So in this talk, I'm going to be sharing one way that you can get off of the income roller coaster really quickly. And I think you'll be surprised at how easy that might be. If you are joining me live, thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join me. If you happen to be watching this on the replay, thanks for taking the time, and I really appreciate it. There is a link in somewhere around this video, depending on where you're watching it, that will take you to a downloadable workbook that goes with this talk. This is actually the first of 4 talks I'm giving on this topic about getting off the income roller coaster. The workbook will walk you through all 4 sections, including this one, which is all about marketing. So without further ado, I am going to get started. If you have questions, please, and you're joining me live, please feel free to post them anywhere in the comment area. If you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to do the same, and I will follow up with answers to your questions. So thank you again for being here. I'm not sure I can see who is joining, so I see there are a few people watching. I really appreciate it. So let's dive into this, shall we? All right, what is this income roller coaster anyway? Well, I know from personal experience that it is really frustrating because I had this very thing happening in a previous venture that I tried. So back in around 2010 or 11, I can't quite remember exactly when it was, I tried to start a business on the side. I was working full-time and I wanted to work for myself. And so I started a business where I was making websites for people, WordPress websites, and I was also doing some really cool, what I thought they were cool, animated videos for people, marketing videos for people. And I was really frustrated because I was just, sorry about that, I was just kind of making myself crazy all the time, trying to work my regular job, first of all, which was a definitely full-time job. I was usually gone by 8 in the morning and home at 8 in the evening if I went to the gym or went shopping or something after work. So I was trying to coordinate that with trying to get clients for my on-the-side hustle, if you will, the website and video business. And I really didn't know how to manage all of it. You know, I would have times where I would get a few clients in, and then I would be just making myself, you know, absolutely crazy trying to get all of that work done. And then I'd sort of get a breather, but then my income would go down because I didn't have anyone in the pipeline. So it was like, oh my gosh, okay, this isn't working. And then I would do this big scramble to try to get new clients. So, you know, if that sounds familiar to you, I really get it. Also, I should add that looking back, my pricing was so ridiculously low that that was also contributing. We'll talk about that in a later discussion. And that was also really contributing to this up and down income thing. It was really frustrating. And I got to the point where I don't know if you can relate to this, but I got to the point where I was like, okay, I almost don't want anyone to sign up because I'm scared that I can't manage all of this. And then when no one did sign up later, I was like, oh shoot, now I have no money coming in. So it was just this really head spinning, literally, phenomenon that I was dealing with, and I just didn't like it at all. And that business tanked, not surprisingly. I wasn't getting anywhere with it. I was putting in way too much time for very little return. I was really just not sure what to do. I really didn't know how to create this business that I could rely on, that had a steady stream of new clients and income coming in the door. That was the point. I wanted to be able to quit my full-time job and do this other business, and it just didn't happen. So if you're finding yourself in that position, I really understand where you're coming from. So in this discussion, I want to point out an area of business that, and the reason I'm doing this is the first talk is because it's one of the major reasons why people are not able to have a steady income stream. And that is their marketing. Were you afraid I was going to say that? I know marketing is one of those terms, along with sales, but we're talking about marketing here, that tends to really scare people who are in business for themselves. It sounds very big and very complicated, and it sounds like something they're never going to master, right? It sounds like, you know, this marketing thing, I'm just never going to wrap my head around it. It's never going to make sense to me. It's always going to be something that other people do better than I do. And, you know, if that's what's happening with you in marketing, I understand that as well. I did have an advantage this time around in that I brought some of my marketing skills from my full-time work over all those years into this particular business. And I figured out a few things. I figured out a few things about how I could structure my marketing so that I wasn't doing that up and down cycle all the time. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this talk. So what is marketing anyway? If I had to describe what it is, and I'll just back that up by saying that I have worked in marketing in some capacity off and on since 1997. In 1997, I left my job as a journalist and went into working for an advertising agency and doing marketing copywriting. And I did that off and on for all this time. I include now because I'm doing it for my own business. But if I had to sum up what marketing is, it's really about connection. Marketing is connecting with people. Marketing is connecting with people. That's what marketing is now. In the old days, I might have said that marketing was more like, you know, standing up on a soapbox and speaking through a megaphone so that everyone could hear all the wonderful things about your offers and your company and your products and your services. It's not that way anymore. You know, ever since social media has sort of taken over, marketing is now much, much more about, and I would almost say it's 100% about connecting. Unless you are a super big brand like Coca-Cola or something like that. And even then you could argue it's still about connecting. But particularly for those of us who have our own businesses, maybe we're solopreneurs, and especially if we're a coach or in any kind of helping profession, marketing equals connecting with people. So in the workbook, where I have the link to near this video, there is a section in there where I'm going to ask you to write out all of the things that you are doing in your marketing. And the question that I have for you in relation to that is, how much of that marketing is getting you closer to connecting with people, to making personal connections? Because marketing is not about saying a bunch of stuff that people might find interesting or even inspiring. That's cool. It's great to do that. But in its essence, it's about connecting. And if your marketing does not have that as its major goal, then you need to make some changes so that it is. If you only got one thing from this whole series of talks that I'm going to give on this topic of getting off the income roller coaster, I want it to be this. Your marketing can help you massively if it focuses on making personal connections with people, because that will keep people in your circle and waiting to work with you when you have an opening. There will be a waiting list for you. If you connect with people on a personal level, that means everything. That means everything. Bonus points for creating a sense of community. Man, I talk about a way to keep the pipeline of prospects filled. If you can create a community, then you have people who are conversing not only with you, but other people. They have a personal investment in the topic that you're talking about. It is massively helpful, and to top it off, it's actually really easy. It's fun. If you are someone who is, in the coaching profession or some other helping profession, this will come naturally to you. You clearly love talking to people. You love creating personal connections. And so, all of that is just a natural part of what you're about. So this makes the whole topic of marketing much, much simpler. Focus on making connections. So again, in the workbook that you can download, I'm going to ask you to write out everything you're doing related to your marketing. And I suspect that if you're in this up and down income thing, that one of the things you might notice is that your marketing is sort of all over the place. You may be doing a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh, I just see some comments here. Sorry. If I can scroll them. Hi, everybody. Sorry, the comments just popped up now. So if you are writing out all of your marketing activities and you see that they're very scattershot, I totally understand. That's very typical. Most people are not consistent in what they're doing. That's another big piece, is being consistent. If you can find ways to be consistently connecting with people, creating a community, lots of C's here, I just noticed, then that just makes marketing so much simpler and easier. So much simpler and easier. It also really helps to be doing things that you enjoy in terms of marketing. This, I'm putting like flashing lights around this part too, because most people are doing marketing that they think they should be doing. They'll see some kind of marketing strategy, like, and I'm not saying that these are necessarily wrong, but they may see something like, oh, I should do an automated webinar and set up a big fancy funnel around this webinar, and that will get people in the pipeline. Well, yes, that can work. However, it's pretty complicated unless you really know what you're doing. And it's putting more hurdles that people have to jump over to get to you. And unless you really have a good reason for doing something that complicated and that has that many steps to it, and there's a reason why you want people to jump over all those hurdles, that may not be the best thing for you to be doing right now. So I suggest simplifying the marketing that you do to create connections. So I'll use myself as an example where, most of my marketing, actually all of my marketing, is based around doing live talks like this one, in case you happen to be joining live. I have given lots and lots of live talks. I really enjoy having these kinds of conversations with people and taking people's questions. So it creates a connection, plus people get to see me and they get to hear me and know if, I might be the right person to help them. They pick up on the vibe that I'm giving off, and they can decide for themselves. So that's a really nice way to do marketing. I use a Facebook because I love having a Facebook group. I've had different kinds of groups in the past, depending on what I was working on at the time. It's a wonderfully easy way to create a community around what you're doing. I also use Facebook posts for that purpose as well. And I have an email list, and so I communicate with people on my email list. If you're on my email list, you'll notice that a lot of the time I'm asking people to respond back to me. I'll ask a question, or, I'll say something provocative in the email, and I will ask people to tell me what they think of it. And those are all very simple ways to create this back and forth, to create the sense of community and conversation. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do that. Another thing that I want to point out in relation to marketing is that you can reuse things. So in my marketing, I will often use the same material in all those different places. So for example, this video that I'm doing on Facebook in my Healthy Wealthy Coach group, I will take this video, I will probably put it on my blog, I will put it on YouTube, I will share those links. I may transcribe this video and use pieces of it on social media posts that I do, and then maybe link to a page where people can join my email list and get the workbook that goes along with it. So if you start to think of your marketing as something that can be recycled and reused, that also saves a tremendous amount of time and energy. There are lots of cool tools available that can help you to do that as well. For example, I just maybe 3 weeks ago or so, signed up for a new tool that I have not even begun to explore yet, but looks really interesting, called Meet Edgar, where it's a very nice way to create content on there that can be posted on different social media platforms, and then it gets repeated every couple of weeks. So there's a continual flow of content from me. Even if I'm not writing something new, I can write something evergreen. It even has the ability to make a variation of a post, so it's not exactly the same. I mean, this is amazing technology that is designed for you and me to help us solopreneurs seem like we're everywhere all at once, even when we're not. And through those kinds of tools and through simplifying what we're doing and making it more evergreen and making it more conversational and community building, you really can build up the impact of that. You can build up people's trust in you so that you don't have to keep hunting for new people all the time. A big lesson that I have learned from this experience in business. I see a couple of comments here, so I'll get to those in just a second. A big thing I've learned in this business that I've been doing now for the last 3.5 years is that people really value personal connection. They really want to feel like they can reach out to you. So anything you can do in your marketing to encourage that kind of connection, I highly, highly recommend it. Hi, Sydney. Can I do a practice Facebook Live before I really go live? I believe, I'd have to look, but I believe that there is a setting on Facebook Live where you can show it just to yourself, or it used to be that way. I'll double check after I'm done with this one, and I'll get back to you, Sydney. Thanks. You've used Meet Edgar too, Lynn. Oh, great. Yeah, it's something that I'm exploring because here's the thing. Most of what we are as coaches are talking about is not necessarily timely. It's not like based on a news event or something like that. So there is a lot of marketing content that we can create and reuse. We might want to make subtle changes to it, like let's say you are going to do a free live talk, and it's on a topic you've done before. You may have an introduction that you could share, a written introduction that you could share leading to the event sign-up form or something, that you've used before. You don't have to constantly be reinventing the wheel. That takes time and energy that, frankly, most of us don't have. So as much as possible, keep your marketing evergreen and keep it in this vein of connecting with people, of building this sense of community with them, and creating a sense of that you're a real person. Because I can't overstate this enough, that if your marketing is really, really impersonal, if it's lots and lots of how can I say this, like pre-recorded things that just seem very kind of staid and whatever, people are going to get turned off. They're just going to get turned off. So that's why I personally like to mix in live things like this with written things, with recorded things. I keep my email pretty fresh and timely, and I talk about things that are happening for me and things I'm learning. And, it's just so important, I think, to think of your marketing as connecting. Marketing is connecting with people. So I'm going to just take a quick pause there and see if anybody has any questions about anything that I've said so far. I'm going to just check back at my notes here as well. And make sure I didn't leave anything out so far. Oh, yes. So I wanted to make sure and touch on this point about consistency. Consistency is king, along with community building and connection building. It's really about consistency as well. And, you know, thankfully, like I was saying, we have technology that can help with it. Even just on Facebook itself, you can write a bunch of posts and schedule them to appear once a day. You know, through a week, you can just get them all done on Monday and set them up to post. But you have to be consistently showing up to people. Where I see a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs kind of get sidetracked is that they will, let's say they will do several social media posts for, you know, a week or two, and they don't get much engagement, and then they quit. And they say, well, it's not really working. Well, that's not really true, because it takes time to build some momentum. It takes time to build these connections with people. And, you know, another thing I should point out is that a lot of people also, I've run across this a lot lately, and it truly kind of breaks my heart into a million pieces. A lot of brand new coaches are relying on things like Facebook ads to try to get people into their community. Now, I'm not bashing Facebook ads. They can work well. I know a lot of people use them extremely well. However, they are not the be-all, end-all answer, particularly in my opinion, if you are trying to do what I said, which is build a sense of connection, start conversations with people, and build a community through your marketing. Because you are constantly going after people who don't know you. With Facebook advertising, you're trying to build an audience from a cold standing start. And it's a lot easier to start, first of all, with people you already know and start building community that way. That's exactly what I did with this business. Was I started telling people who were in my immediate circles what I was doing. And then I started to, you know, post in some other Facebook groups that were related to what I was doing, and people got to know me that way. And so I have never bought a Facebook ad in the, you know, 3+ years that I've been in business, and I've never had any trouble keeping my client list full and making a good income from this business. And it's mostly because this time I figured out that it's all about connecting with people. It's all about inviting them into the conversation with you. And as I said before, as somebody who is a coach or in a helping profession, you have this ability naturally. This is kind of, you know, what gets you excited. And so if you're doing marketing that feels very kind of cold and sort of not you, you don't have to go that way just because somebody's telling you you have to. I would really rather you were doing things that you enjoyed, that helped you to form this wonderful sense of community with other people, and that started conversations, that start conversations. So I'm gonna take a pause there and see what questions you might have. I'm just gonna look this up on my phone because I just want to make sure I'm seeing everybody's comments. Looks like I am so far. All right, tell me what's on your mind. Is there a question that you have about the income roller coaster related to marketing that I can answer? And I will certainly come back after I close out this Facebook Live and see what questions have been posted, because it's my aim to help you as much as I possibly can. I really understand how it feels to, you know, feel like this is out of your control. And I want to assure you with all my heart that this is not out of your control, that you can control the cash flow in your business by making some simple and small changes. If you find yourself on this dizzying roller coaster ride, this feast or famine situation where you have lots of clients one month and you're scrambling around the next month to try to figure out where you're going to get them from. And a big piece of that is being consistent in your marketing and not kind of doing the same thing in your marketing as you're doing in your coaching business. Because here's the thing, if we are experiencing this feast or famine thing, we're also not serving our current clients to the best of our ability, right? Because always in the back of our mind is, where's my next client going to come from? Or is this going to be an awkward conversation if I ask this person to renew? And that's kind of just sitting back there, right? The whole time you're working with someone. And that is not a good place to be in when we're trying to help people. We want to have all of that sorted out in our business so that we can really focus on what matters. And that is the person that we're serving, who's sitting right in front of us and is asking for our help. So let me see if there are any other questions here. I don't see any. I'll give it a couple more minutes. What else can I share with you about marketing that has been helpful to me? One other area of marketing, and this isn't in the workbook, but this is something that was very helpful to me in keeping my my profile at the top of people's minds, was I got interviewed quite a bit when I first got started. I think people overlook this as an interesting way to connect with people. But I know that there are lots of people who have their own podcasts and things who are looking for interesting guests. And I would highly recommend that as a way to do marketing that is super easy, because all you have to do is show up. And if you're on one of these interviews, have an easy website for people to visit to find you. You know, if your website's really complicated, get a different one that's super easy that people can go to. And that's a really nice way to get marketing exposure on a consistent basis. If you keep appearing on people's programming, I found that extraordinarily helpful. It was a real big boost in my business when I first got started, and fortunately it's really easy to do, because lots of people need guest speakers for their programming. Let's see. Oh, hi Heather, thanks for joining. So I guess I will close this out by saying, once again, if you have questions that have come up after listening and you want to post them here, I am happy to answer. And you know, marketing doesn't have to be this big scary thing. If we think about it in terms of human-to-human connection, that's all we're really talking about. And when I get up every day, my first thought is, how can I connect with people today? What could I share that could be useful to someone today? You know, who is there somebody who's on my mind that I could, you know, send an email to and ask how they're doing? You know, somebody who I have connected with in my group or something like that. And really, that's what marketing is. And when you think of it that way, it's just a natural part of living. It doesn't have to be this, you know, complicated, multi-moving part thing. You know, you and I are not big companies with all of those things going on. And I highly recommend that you focus on one, maybe two things that you can do in marketing to help you connect with people, and leave the rest behind. You don't need to make things that complicated for yourself. So I hope that this has been helpful. Oh, sorry, Sydney, can you talk about the invitation to buy? So that's a great question. And really, that's more of a sales question. You know, marketing to me is all about before asking someone to buy something. And so I think it's a way to separate the two things, if you will, where that's the very last part of the conversation, is inviting someone to buy something from you. And I also feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches that I have spoken to kind of rush into that before people are really ready. And that's, you know, it depends, I suppose, on what you're offering. If you're offering really low cost things, which I don't recommend, by the way, but in any case, if you are, then it might be okay to offer them something to buy early on in your getting to know someone. That's not how I have done things, because everything that I've offered has been at a fairly high price point. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever, well, I probably have offered something under $500, but it's been a while since I've done that. And now pretty much everything I offer is $1,000 or higher. So it does require, you know, in my mind at least, some more connection and more trust building. And so I don't, you know, I don't invite them to buy right away. I do provide ways that people can work, you know, get to know me personally. If they want to have a strategy call with me, a complimentary call, I have a way that people can do that, because right now that is how I am selling, is on one-to-one calls. I'm not just putting buy buttons out there anymore. That's not how I want to do things right now. When I was doing that, when I was inviting people to buy something from me, I was doing it more in a launch fashion, where I would share a bunch of really, really helpful teaching, and then I would invite someone to buy if they wanted to know more. So that's how I have always operated, Sydney. So I hope that that's helpful to you. So, all right, thanks so much for asking that question. Any other questions before we close this out? All right, then I will look forward to seeing you in the next installment of Get Off the Income Roller Coaster. I can't remember what order I have put things in, but in any case, it's going to address another feature of your business that may be causing this dizzying up and down thing in your income. And I want you to feel like you are in control of that, because you absolutely can be. And it's my goal to help you to gain control of the cash flow in your coaching business, and recognize that it's not left up to chance, that you actually can do things that will help you to have the business that you want, and will help you to, you know, really experience not just the business that you want, but the life that you want as a result of that, and doing great work in the world, which I know you're doing. So feel free to download the workbook if you click on the link next to this video, and post questions here if you have them. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.